Okay, so just to fix up, before I get started on the extruding process and actually creating the 3D shape here, there's something that wasn't jiving right at the end of the last video in terms of it was saying that it was over constraining this dimension here. The reason it was doing that, guys, is because automatically when I drew my arcs in, it created these what's called tangent constraints. So if this happens to you, okay, so what's happening is I'm telling it to be tangent, which I'm not going to get into what that means right now. But and then I'm trying to give it a dimension, and it's I'm doing two things that are contradicting each other, and it's not allowing me to do it. So before I do that, before I show you how to fix that, the first thing you need to do is if these pop up automatically and you didn't put them there, just right click on them and hit delete. Okay, right click and delete. Okay, and what you'll find is now when you hit D dimension on your keyboard and you can put in your 32s and it shouldn't give you any issues. Okay. Lastly, I mean, I probably should have put a constraint that these two need to stay horizontal and vertical from each other, but you don't really need to do that, but I'll put it in anyways. So constraints, horizontal, vertical, and then I select that this circle must always be on top of this little circle or dot. Okay, so we now have our 2D sketch, and we're now going to extrude according to these thicknesses here. So 9 for my nut housing and 7 for my bearing housing. Okay, so let's go and type E on our keyboard for extrude. Click on the faces that you want to extrude. Okay, so there, here, and here. Okay, now I want to do it, it says in my drawing 9 millimeters. Okay, but right now my sketch, like my 2D sketch is like a 2D, it's just a line going right through the middle here. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. You got to do some thinking. So if I want to go 9 millimeters, I need to do 4.5 above and 4.5 below for a total of 9. If I just do 9 straight up, I'm not going to end up with these different steps or levels that I'm going to need later. So I'm going to put my sketch right in the middle here and go 4.5 below, 4.5 up. So instead of choosing direction one side, choose direction symmetric. Okay, and now put in your 4.5, and it will do 4.5 on both sides. Okay, and there it is there. Now notice your sketch has disappeared. You can easily turn that back on. Just click on or double click sketches or double click the little arrow there and see how right now the eyeball's turned off so you can't view it. We want to be able to view the sketch. Okay. So make sure that you have that turned on. Okay, so far so good. We've created the housing for the hex nuts. Now let's do the housing for the bearing here. So this inner circle there. So let's go to our drawing. What does that need to be? 7 millimeters thick. So we're going to go 3.5. Half of 7 is 3.5. We're going to go 3.5 up and down. So press E on your keyboard. Choose the profile and change this, instead of one-sided, change it to symmetric and do 3.5. Okay, and then press OK. All right, so we're almost done. You can see how quickly it happens. Last profile is just this in here, and I created this at a 5 millimeter profile, so I didn't outline it in the drawing because you can do that whatever you want. But I did it at 5 millimeters. So this part right here, see where my cursor is right there? I did that 5 millimeters thick. So I'll do that again. So remember, if it's 5 millimeters, that means I'm doing 2.5 millimeters, which is half of 5, up and down, symmetrical. So again, E on my keyboard, select the profile, just click, change to symmetric, and do 2.5, and press OK. And if I rotate around my point, by the way, I did mention to you that I would tell you how to do this without always clicking on the toolbar here. So I'm just using my scroll wheel. I press on my scroll wheel and I can pan and zoom. And if I press on my scroll wheel and hit shift, or hit shift first and then press on my scroll wheel, I can orbit around my part. Okay, so there's my part right now. And again, if you don't want to view the sketch now that you've drawn your 3D part, you can just turn off the eyeball there. Okay, or you can turn it back on if you want to view the sketch, what you've drawn. The last thing I want to do really quick is, we've got a whole bunch of sharp edges here. We want to soften up these edges. So we're going to put a little fillet around pretty much the entire part, including in particular inside where the hex nut's going to go, because the hex nut isn't perfectly sharp. Okay, so in order for it to fit nice, we have to kind of round these lines here, that line right there. All right, so I'm going to start there. I'm going to do all of those for all 3 of these hex nut openings. Okay, so let's go to Modify, Fillet. Okay, and now I just go around my drawing and select all these lines all at once. So one, I don't hold shift, I don't do anything like that. Just hover your mouse. You see, if you hover your mouse, even though it's hidden, if you hover your mouse over where it's supposed to be, you will be able to click on it still, which is a nice feature. You don't got to go around orbiting the tool. It picks up on the hidden lines there. Okay. Ooh. And if you click on a line that you shouldn't have clicked on, just click on it again and it'll undo it. Okay, so that's easy. Oh. Oops. This one's being a little tricky. There you go. Okay, and now we're just going to do it at a 1 millimeter radius, just like I indicated in the drawing here. R1 means radius of 1 millimeter. Okay, so just double click inside here, type 1, tab, and there you go. It's created kind of a rounded corner there, which is nice. The other parts that I want to do this to is I certainly want to create, and I'll leave you guys to go ahead and do this, but you want to create a little bit of a rounded fillet, and maybe you don't got to do 1 millimeter, but maybe do 0.5 millimeters, probably all around the outside of your shape, okay, just to leave out any sharp edges. So if I go to Modify, Fillet, I'm just going to start clicking all around kind of the outside of my shape and just really soften up those edges there. Okay, and you're going to do that obviously top and bottom. So just go around clicking and softening up those edges, including these down here as well. You probably want to put. Okay, now I'm not going to, you guys can go ahead and do that. I'm not going to go in and do every single one there. Okay, but what you'll do is you'll go around your body and you'll click any of those sharp edges, and of course, like you can orbit around as well and view underneath as well. But I'm just going to put a 0.5 millimeter radius on that, and that'll just soften things up enough. It's giving me an error here, something going on down here. Okay, so it's not letting me do that radius down there for whatever reason. But it did put it, you can see it did put it everywhere else. Okay, so if it's not letting you do that, I mean, let's just rotate around there and see why that is. I may have clicked on the wrong edge. Okay, oh, it's because, see, because it's attached here, it's not able to do a 0.5 millimeter on this line, right? Because it's attached. So I should have just clicked on this line and this line up here, but not this portion, because there's no way it would be able to do a soft radius there, because it's not really, it's not interpreting it even as like an edge where it can do that. Okay, so that's why that happened. Don't forget also, you definitely want to, I forgot to do it here, okay, but you definitely want to put a fillet around this circle as well, and this bottom one here. Okay, so I'm going to press F on my keyboard for fillet, and I'll put a 0.5 millimeter there. Okay, and maybe even here as well, so the circle underneath. Okay, just to kind of round that off nice, and press OK. All right, and then again, remember, you're going to do that to the bottom portion of your drawing as well. I'm just showing you how to do it, but you're going to do that to all around your fidget spinner. Okay, so there it is, guys. It doesn't take much to create one. Remember, this is just one design that you can do. I've told you what you're limited with. You're limited with having 3 hex nuts. They obviously have to be balanced around your bearing, but in terms of the thickness and the shape of this inner body here, what's being highlighted right there, that's pretty much up to you. Okay, but you do have to have the 9 millimeter thickness for your hex nut housing and your 7 millimeter thickness for your bearing housing. Okay,